Sports and Songs podcast. We're on season 4, episode number 13. Tonight's episode is Sports Edition. It's the baseball roundtable discussion. Andy, how you doing tonight, Andy?
Good, thank you.
So it is February 5th, 2023. Little hot stove we're hoping for here because a couple months. The amateur baseball in Minnesota is going to kick off, and practices and games will be going. I'm starting to see schedules being announced, gentlemen, on the web and on Twitter, as teams are getting their schedules ready for the season. The various tournaments are getting set up. So we're going to have a little roundtable discussion and go through some topics here and get your thoughts on it. Here's who we've got on the show tonight. We have Mike Sticha, president of St. Patrick Irish, also a board member for the Minnesota State Board. Say hello, Mike.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
Perfect. Jason Kuerschner is along with us also, Cologne Hollanders president, also a board member. Hello, Jason.
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Jared Duske. Jared is the manager, Watertown Red Devils in the Crow River Valley League. Welcome, Jared.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
And Kip Kovar, sports editor, Herald Journal. Thanks for joining us, Kip.
Thanks for having me. I thought we might have a ball game with how nice it was outside today.
Oh, yes. A lot of melting going on
Throwing
here.
the ball around.
Yeah.
And we're also going to have Town Ball Tuesday on. Rhino is going to be joining us here in a second. He's going to jump on. What we've got is basically a bunch of expertise here in different topics here. Expertise in various topics for Minnesota State baseball. Let's start off with a little Crow River Valley. That's kind of our home during the season, gentlemen. We cover DRS baseball here on the show, Crow River Valley League on the show. They're going to be adding Norwood and Westonka to the conference. And the interesting thing is Norwood played last year, gentlemen, as basically 1 year under probation, as it were, and now they've got accepted in. Westonka originally did not make the vote. There was a revote done, and they're going to be in now. So the traditionally tough Crow River League, Crow River Valley, is going to be adding 2 new teams actually for conference play, also for sectional play. It should be interesting. Any thoughts on that, Kip, as far as those guys jumping into the mix?
Yeah, it's fun to see. It'll be really good to see Norwood back in the league. I think 2015 was the last year they were an active member of the Crow, and then they did what they needed to. Last year they played under probation. I think they played all the CRBL South teams and then played a few other games there in between, and they did what they needed to. They came back to the Crow and they brought them back in. So it's good to see teams coming back. I know there's a lot of teams that are struggling for players. You've seen a lot of teams around the state lose players and lose teams. So anytime you can bring a team back, it's pretty cool to see that. And then Westonka one's interesting for sure. Obviously it wasn't welcomed right away, but now they're officially part of the league, and there's a handful of guys in the Crow on that team, so there'll be the rivalries and all the familiarity there. So it should be a little twinkle that'll be added, and it should be fun.
Yeah, Rhino join us now. He's from Town Ball Tuesdays. How you doing, Rhino?
Hey, good. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you.
cool.
Here's what we got on the show. We got Kip Kovar, Mike Sticha, Jared Duske, Jason Kuerschner, Andy, and myself here on the show. We're just talking about a little Crow River baseball to start things off. Norwood played under probation last year. Real young team. This is mainly made up of high school guys, I believe, are going to be joining the conference, the tough Crow River Valley League. And so you're hoping to get a handful of wins maybe for a season. The expectations, I guess, would be low, along with Westonka as well. What's your thoughts, Jared, as far as getting those guys onto the schedule? Looking forward to playing some new fresh faces.
Yeah. Kind of echoing what Kip just stated. It's nice to have Norwood back. They did what they had to do to get back in and proved to the league like everything they said they were going to do, they accomplished. So it was nice to see that happen. Welcome them back into the league. Westonka, we played them twice last year, actually. We scheduled them twice last year. One got rained out. Went to their place and played once. Like Kip said, there's a couple Crow River guys on there, so some friendly faces. Within bringing them into the league, there was some ins and outs, but now that they're in, we welcome them with open arms, and let's play ball once it comes time.
Now, Pat Reagan, is he the one taking over there in Westonka, the former Green Isle pitcher?
I don't know who's officially listed as head coach, but they have Regan and they have Teddy Peterson over there as well. Two good guys, so I think they're in good hands over there.
What do you think, Rhino, with those two joining the Crow?
Well, it's a meat grinder, so that's a tough league to jump into right away. I know. I actually haven't seen either of those ball clubs play. Westonka seems like last year they were, they would show up and kick the tar out of some people, and then kind of show up and not really put up much of a fight sometimes. So hopefully they can, get some consistency out of their lineup. They're going to need it.
Now, what do you think, Jason, as far as from Cologne's perspective? Now, are these teams joining the North or the South? That's another question I've got.
So Norwood is joining the South, which they've always technically been a part of in the past when they were part of the league and before they folded. And I believe the Mound team, or the Westonka team, is joining the North Division. So from the perspective of Cologne and being the president of Cologne, Norwood needs to be in our league. They had some unfortunate issues that happened back in 15 and again in 19. I think they struggled again. They tried to come back, but it didn't work. They're right in the heart of the Crow River Valley, and they need to be in our league. I just want to make sure that we don't set them up as a league to fail. And I think that was the reasoning for why the what do you want to say? The limited schedule was allowed for them last year with no playoff experience or playoff of eligibility, so that they could basically prove that, okay, we're young, but we got enough kids to do a roster and do a schedule and still, because it's very important for those young kids that are still in high school to still play that Legion schedule. They need that as well as not just playing town team, because town team will be there for the rest of their life. They need to play that at their level, at that Legion level also. So it's going to be good. We look forward to having them come to our place, and we get to go there again, and we'll see how it goes, and we'll go from there.
Yes, interesting stuff.
Right.
Interesting stuff. Now, Westonka, I think, was in another conference, or maybe they even played an independent schedule. Norwood, I think, played an independent schedule, but it basically was the Crow River, unleaded version, light version, I guess. But now when the section's going to come up, it's going to be Norwood now officially in, and Westonka when the sections come for Section 7C this year, along with Mayer, who was out last year, deemed ineligible. So it'll be a full stack for the 7C regional. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. Less Young America, but yes, the rest, what is there? 14 other teams. So yeah, it's going to be, a meat grinder.
It's a big group. It's also fun. Andy and I do a lot of stuff on the show. Yeah. Andy, we cover the Crow a lot in just fun ball. We've been to most of the ballparks. Fox 9 has done the town ball with, at Plato and Watertown and everything. So at Cologne, I think a couple times. So it's fun stuff. That sectional is always good and then 4 teams advancing to the state. And like you said, Jason, Young America has moved up to Class B last year, so they're not in the section for the playoffs, the postseason, but they do play the regular schedule in the Crow. Good stuff. So field updates. I know I drove by and I went to the Jordan Mini-Met a couple of weeks ago and had to go up there and stand on that new party deck, fellas. Pretty nice. They didn't have any updates, I don't think, to the field itself, except maybe behind home plate was the only update that they did. But that second tier, Rhino, have you been up there, town ball? To the
no, I have not. And Dan, I'm glad you made it, because it's probably a little slippery over there. So.
Oh yes, it's slick. It's a full flight of stairs to get up there. It's a railing going up the back, and then it's got it's just a regular party patio up there. But the nice thing is that it's completely covered by the small black netting. You're not going to be watching your on a foul ball getting drilled up there holding your beer. It's all protected up on that level. great vantage point as well to watch from the mini-met, a site that no one has ever seen watching a ball game from up there higher up there on that first base line. I thought the view was great.
I'm excited.
It's a great setup there. They're going to put the rail in all the way around that four-sided piece there to hold your drink or your food and your cheese curds, whatever you got there to eat. So great environment up there. What they've got, what I wanted to point out is if you look behind you there, up there at the mini-met, you get a great view of the old 1880s brewery. And so they built it that way on purpose up there to get some great sight lines of not only the field, but directly behind you across the Highway 21 there is the old brewery location. And it's and they're going to trim down a bunch of trees in between there to be a great view of both things. Anyone else been out there on the panel here? Maybe Mike. Has Sticha been out there at all?
What was it? Oh, I've not. I've driven by many times. I drove by last evening, matter of fact. But those guys know what they're doing. It's going to be a great ballpark. I know the backstop is all new. The knee wall is all new. That the views are going to be spectacular. They also have a little bar rail, I think, down the right field line as well. A little bit more lower to the ground versus the one above the dugout. But Jordan, they know how to put on a good show, and they know what they're doing there. It's going to be awesome improvements to an already great ballpark. So it's going to be fun to see.
Yeah, farther down that first base line before you get to the bullpen, there's another like a step or two up on a patio, just a couple steps up, but another rail, great spot to watch the view from that side. That part is not covered at all. There's no netting in front of that piece. Got to pay attention down there, but that upper level is a sweet spot to look at. They did move that the backstop. I think there's a 6-foot difference. I think from the previous years, it's either moved up or back. It's only 6 feet, but that'll come into play with the knee stop, the padding there as well. So everything else there in that stadium is the same. Bond and Field there, Mike, with St. Patrick last year really was the talk of everything for last year's season, playing underneath those LED lights there and they did a great, fantastic job there. There's also new things in the works the next couple of years with you heading up those plans as well. That's always fun seeing the updates. One team that you never heard of is St. Boni. St. Boni Missile Park. I don't think there's been updates there done for years, except maybe the right field wall, gentlemen. But boy, the dugouts have been demolished, rebuilt concrete dugouts. I drove by there the other day. I think they're 45 or 65 feet dugouts. Do you know what they are, Rhino? How deep they go?
I think there's 65 with storage on both ends.
And maybe Kip knows. I think they're 45-foot dugouts with a 20-foot storage space.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
And to make it a total of 65 feet. And who's really going to benefit there is Crown College plays their home games there, and that's part of the reason they did the upgrade there. But it'll be fun for the local St. Boni team, in the Curl River to get some nice expanded dugouts. That's going to be nice to take a look at those as well. And in the future, they've got plans a couple of years down the road for grandstand and additional things going in there at St. Boni. But that's another younger group. Fun baseball for the young guys there, but that'll be a nice setup there. Anything else? I know Cologne, Jason, they did some outfield work there, not to the wall per se, but to the outfield grass.
Yeah, last August, I guess we started it early August. We redid the entire surface of our outfield, leveled it off, raised it up to only a 1% grade versus a 2% grade going out to right field for drainage. And then in addition, we put in a warning track for the first time, and then seeded everything in the outfield there, and the grass came in very nice last fall. We're very optimistic with the heavy snow cover that grass is going to be very good coming into this spring too. So it was a good project for us, necessary project to get that back up, because there were some swales and stuff like that were forming out there that we needed to get taken care of. So
Yeah, and Cologne's got the party deck already, the new scoreboard already, so they're set. But that outfield would be nice. Is there any other fields that we know of yet in the Crow River that don't have a warning track, or is that the last one? Does New Germany?
New Germany does.
They do. Anyone
I
else,
think they
Jared,
do.
you know of, or Kip, that do not? Winstead does. I think everything. I think Cologne was the last one there. The grass right up to the outfield wall there.
I think Green
I
Isle
didn't
does
even
too.
realize that. Oh no, Young America doesn't have a warning track.
Yeah, Young America doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, at the old park there. Okay, yeah, not many of
Old
those
Green
left
Park.
around. That'll be nice. Nice to see. Any other updates that you guys can think of, Mike? Even in the DRS, as far as field update repairs.
Yeah, I know. In Webster, they're working on an irrigation project. I believe they actually put the irrigation product in the ground, if you will, this off season in preparation of getting a well and water out there at some point in time. But I know that Webster's working on that. Also locally, not in the DRS league, but somewhat nearby. I know last fall, Belle Plaine, I believe they regraded their infield area and some of their baselines as well to minimize some lip issues and whatnot that they had. So I think they did that last fall, a regrading of that. I don't know of anything else that's coming to mind, but no, it's important. A lot of these ballparks, they're reinvesting into their facilities, and it's living organisms. These parks are living. You're trying to maintain what is kind of going against you over time in some cases, like you said, regrading and whatnot, but it's not always just the off-field facility pieces. It is actually the playing surface itself that we must reinvest in.
Well, and to jump on top of that with you, Mike, both Belle Plaine and Jordan are your fans will be able to check out those parks next year in 24 for the state tournament as well. They're two of the hosts for the state tournament next year.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun stuff. Okay. Now, speaking of the state tournament, our next item on the discussion topic, gentlemen, is they announced last October on the 8th, Class A and B, the tournament, the state tourney for A and B classes will be combined for this year coming up on the state. They just announced that. I think Class C draws all the fans, and B and A have been kind of on the outs, and I'm not sure if that made the decision or how all that came in, but I'd like to start with you, Kip. How is that going to be changed here this year with all these teams now heading out to Dassel, Delano, and Litchfield?
Yeah, it'll be interesting because A especially they run their own kind of thing. Like obviously they're still under the Minnesota Baseball Association, but they kind of take care of things. And when you bid, you're not bidding to host Class A, but now coming forward, you're kind of have that A and B combination, which will make things interesting. But I think it's a good move overall. It definitely is kind of a move I didn't see coming this quick, but I think in the long run, it will be a good move to kind of move everything of amateur baseball into one site. And I think C has been where you're going to get the most fans, obviously, with the small town teams and the following they get. But I think Class B has taken off a lot too, which is a good combo. And if you can throw A into that mix and get them a little bit more popular, I think it'll be a good move overall for everybody.
My next question is, typically in the past few years, only 16 teams make it for Class A and 16 teams make it for Class B. Is that just going to be then merging them together for a 32 team tournament? Thoughts on that, Rhino?
We got a board guy here, isn't it? Is that I thought it was a 24.
Jason, you're the veteran
Mike,
board. You're the veteran board guy.
All right. So yeah, the board, and Mike did a lot of this, but the board did talk with both the B and the A teams to get some feedback on what would be maybe most appropriate in the early sense of this combination, this merging of the A and the B. So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Mike, but for this year and I believe next year, we have the new class, and we're going to call it Class B going forward until something else changes. But for right now, it's going to be Class B. But that tournament is going to be a 32-team single elimination tournament for the next 2 years. Correct, Mike?
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, like you said, both those classes have been coming from a situation where they both had a 16-team state tournament. So now with A and B merging, like you said, it's going to be 32 teams. We talked to the old Class A teams, if you will, and the old Class B teams. What was their feedback? We talked about perhaps a 24-team state tournament with the top seeds getting a bye the first weekend. Some people liked that, some people didn't. And from my perspective, I felt that 32 teams made sense. There were 32 teams making a tournament from those two classes in the past. And so that's something that I thought would be a good thing, and other teams kind of jumped on too. There was some feedback that, those Class B teams would love to play twice a weekend. Currently they're playing once a weekend, but to get a Class B tournament where you're playing twice a weekend, if you were to win, we would need 5 state tournament fields, not just 4. So we're already upping the state tournament number of fields from 3 to 4 with this move. So the first weekend of the Class B state tournament, I believe it's been announced that we're going to be using Waconia for 8 games that first weekend of the Class B state tournament. And then after the first weekend, we'll fall back and just use the regular 3 fields, Dassel, Delano, and Litchfield. But I think it's going to be a good thing in the long run. Obviously, Class A, their players and their fans and their teams, it'll be new for them, or somewhat new for them, moving away from Palm Field at St. Anthony. But I'd like to get those fans aware of what our state tournament is from a B and C perspective, and get those folks out to these fun ballparks, and kind of envelop them into what the NBA has had in Class B and Class C. There may be some early, bumps in the road, if you will, but we'll look at it for 2 years and see how it goes.
Now, for the newer listeners out there that may not follow this in depth as much as we do, typically Class A is really known as your 494, 694 ring teams inside the Twin Cities metro area is really where they play for Class A. B is somewhat in there as well, but it's also the other bigger schools or bigger towns that have the criteria to be at a B level. This tournament would not alter their regular season schedule. It's still, their scheduling would still be the same. They would still have their conference tournaments and whatnot, but it would just impact, and maybe not even the sections. Their sections are still would advance by winning in the number of teams advancing out of the sections to the state. The only thing different then would be the state tournament being in Class B, and then taking the teams and their fans then to on the road, essentially, to wherever these teams are located for the state tournament host sites, which would be new to them, rather than just playing Palm Field and St. Anthony, Falls, St. Anthony Village, all the games at one site. It's going to be fun to get the fans out there. A little more driving involved for these guys, but I think they'll like it.
Yeah, and to your point, the sections will remain the same, and the old Class A leagues will be their own section, and every section will send 4 teams to the state tournament. Each section can run their tournament any way they so choose, just so long as they have a tournament or a playoff such that it sends 4 of their teams to the amateur tournament.
Okay. Good point. Because some of them I know have a best of 3. Some have a pool play, round robin, but they do send 4. That's right. I did not know that. Each one of them send 4 teams to the state. Okay, so all that stuff will stay. That will remain the same. I see. Mm-hmm. And then when they get to the state, then they'll be commingled. And like you said, Mike, is it going to be for the first 2 years a straight single elimination bracket for A and B?
Yeah, so that'll be somewhat new. There will be no double elimination in the Class B state tournament in 2023, and the plan for 2024 as well. So we're kind of shaping this up as a 2-year trial, see how things go, good, bad, or indifferent, and then we'll on the fly, make some changes if we need to in the future.
So little beta test for a 2-year test to see how it works. Okay, gotcha.
Now with A and B, you have. We're kind of segueing into the next question. Some teams do move up to B, like St. Patrick is this year with the scheduling. What makes a team have to move up to B? Jared?
I I believe it's, I mean, again, you have two board members on here that are going to be far more qualified than I. I'm trying to avoid this this part of it anyway. But I believe it's 45 points. Mike and Jason, right? Correct. 45 points.
Correct.
Counts college level. Each kid outside of your radius gets points, and then it counts your school population or school district. Again, that I've been around a long time, and that's been tweaked a couple times, and now it's finally, I would say, starting to work. If teams get those points, they're moving up, or some teams are dropping below those points and moving down. The board's done a good job with, handling each situation how they see fit. So we'll see, because more changes, I believe, are coming, like with this A and B. So, those two guys are great board members. So they'll handle it how they see fit with the rest of the board.
Look, Jason, what is a point for those new? What's a point?
So as a team, there's three different point categories. Okay. You have your success points, you have your player points, and then you have your population points. I'll start with the population points. As a manager or as a club, you can choose between two different population points. You can either choose the city that your park resides in, or the school district that your park resides in. And then you get 1 point per every 1,000 population in that population center. So, and it rounds up or down from 500. 500 or above, you go up 499, and down you go down. But rounding is part of that deal too. So if you choose your city population, now from that point, you then look at and this gets kind of complicated, but I'll try to dumb it down as much as possible. Then you look at all of your players on your roster. Okay. If any of those players have an address from their contract that is outside of, in this case, the city, and they also played at a college level or higher, Major League or minor league baseball also, they get points added to your team's point total. So those points are, if your highest level of play was JUCO, junior college, you get 1 point. If you played NAIA or Division III, you'd get 2 points. If you play at Division II, you're worth 3 points. Division I is 4, and anything associated with the Major League Baseball, so even a minor league affiliate to one of the 32 pro teams, that is a 5-pointed player. So after you figure out your population center and then how many player points you have a number. In addition to that, then we have the success points. And currently we have a 5-year look back. So how did you do as a team in the last 5 years? Did you make the state tournament? Did you win the state tournament? And the Class C and the Class B currently have different point systems. In Class C, you can get anywhere from 2 to 12 points. 2 just for getting into the state tournament, and 12 for winning it all. In Class B, 6 points just for getting into the state tournament, and 18 points for making it to the Final Four. So you add all of that together, and if your team has 45 points or more, you are considered a Class B team. And if you have 44 or less, you are considered a Class C team currently. How was that?
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because we get questions as far as, well, they got a couple guys that played D1, but they were on the bench. They weren't part of the successful team. So how can they get the same points as a D1 who's the star of their team? The point here is they're on the roster regardless if it's D1, D2,
Correct.
D3. We don't care how many innings they pitch. what they hit, how many plate appearances they had, or how vital they were to that team, they still get attributed those points just because it's on that roster. Okay.
As soon as a player is on the roster after April 15th, whether they play an inning or not, their points count.
Okay.
Now, how does the other question I get a lot is some teams are loaded up with former college guys that played 10, 15 years ago, nothing to do with anything recent. How does that come into play?
That's a good question. So the player point totals, once you reach the age of 35, those player points fall off.
Oh, interesting. Now, I didn't know that at all. Okay, very good. That helps.
Yep.
That helps.
Yeah.
Well, their early eligibility is gone, Dan.
Yes, I can't play them. That means because my major league background. Okay, well that's very good. That's interesting because so those are the points. That's how the criteria works. That's how the points work. And there's 281 amateur baseball teams in the state of Minnesota. Are there not? And every team has points, or is this just B and C, or C is separate and B is separate? You said.
All the teams have acquired points.
Okay.
From as low as 1 point to almost 200.
Gotcha. So wow. So this might be a question here for the guys on the board, on the state board, is from an administrative task to tally these up. Is that a big task? Is there a separate subcommittee that does that, or the teams just turn in their numbers and it is what it is? Or who's monitoring?
There is a separate subcommittee, and Mike and I. Well, Mike will have his first go around on it this year. He's on it. Myself, I've been on it since I've been on the board with a couple other guys. And our current computer system, we use Score Monster for doing this, tabulates the necessary points for us, so we don't have to necessarily go through each team and scour their roster. The program itself helps pull that information out. That doesn't mean that every manager has done it correctly. And I have coached a lot of managers in the past few years on making sure that they do have their number correctly. Sometimes people had too many points that they didn't have, that they were reporting that was not necessary.
I see.
Some didn't have points reported correctly that they needed to have reported. So it's all a process, and obviously the teams that are closer to that 45 number are the ones that kind of get more eyes put on them, I guess, so to say.
Now here's a question. Is we typically hear teams that are on the verge of moving up. Last couple of years it was Young America, Sobieski, and now we're getting St. Patrick. Is there any news that's made of teams dropping down to Class C that now or out of B down to C? Does that make the news? Is that a newsworthy thing, or does that even happen?
Sobieski did.
Yep. Yeah, Sobieski is the only one that moved down. They moved up for a year or two. They were up for 2 years.
Okay.
And then they moved back down in 21 and won the tournament, and then ended up going right back up to B.
Oh, gotcha.
Success points.
Yeah, because of the success points.
So running total. Okay.
Yeah, and speaking of success, Jared there is the manager for Watertown Red Devils. They've gotten to the Final Four the last couple of years now. How close is a team like that also coming out of the Crow River, Jared? Are you inching up to that? And is that something that the team wants to get to that level? Or are you hoping that some of the points drop off then so you stay in C? What is it from a manager's perspective? Do they want to go up? Do they encourage going up? Or do they want to just be where they have a better fit? What's your thoughts on that? And I'm going to come to Mike Sticha next.
Yeah, I believe we're at like 40 points or 38 or something like that. We went on a long run without even touching a state tournament, and then the past 3 years we've went. Our first year I think we won one game, and then the last 2 years we made the Final Four. So our success has been recent, and before that hasn't been very good. in the state tournament or even getting there. So I don't know. I think my views on getting moved up, and I mean, if you're getting moved up, that means you've been playing well, or you're getting a lot of outside talent that are points. I think my big thing is, like I said, I've been in this Crow River League for a long time, and I would hate to have it torn apart or, not have the camaraderie that is town team baseball, ruining the integrity of that. I mean, like I said, the board guys do a great job in trying to figure that out. I don't know if there's changes coming relating to trying to keep that integrity of like the St. Patrick's, the Young Americas, who haven't have those teams won it in the past? I know Young America hasn't won it. St. Patrick came close. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. But not won it. If there was a way to keep those teams, in Class C until they win it, or have back-to-back years where they're in the finals, with one of them winning it. I would love to see teams stay in C until they win it and then prove it again the next year, before they get bumped up against the big boys, where you're really facing the, where points aren't a problem, where you can recruit the talent from basically anywhere, because your points don't really matter once you're up, unless you're trying to get back down. So, I mean, that's my views on it. Watertown and Young America have some of the best rivalries. We don't play them anymore, and it feels like it's missing. It's one of those things where you don't like playing them, but you love playing them. So I'm sure everyone has those stories. It seems like when they're missing, when they're not in it, it's just a little different. But we try to stay in C. I got to work some points, see where we're at, and then see where it takes us after that. The goal is to win, so you never want to not win. That's what this thing is all about. So board's hands after you win,
Yeah, I got one question on that about points, Mike.
Yep.
Maybe Jason said this and I missed it, so I apologize. He says anyone on your roster is points, but that doesn't include players drafted for the playoffs, does it?
Correct. Draftees do not count. The only way they would count indirectly is if they are pitching and you're winning state tournament games. They are indirectly adding to your experience points potentially.
Okay.
Again, very much indirectly.
I see.
Okay.
Indirectly, yeah,
Okay.
because they go into the season already knowing what class they're
Their
in.
experience
by their
points don't, but they're winners. Their wins. Okay.
Draft comes after the sectionals are over, so yeah, that's an indirect piece. Now, Jared had a good point. How much time then as a manager or GM do you spend kind of doing the math to see where you want to fit if you're getting too close? And this is where Mike comes in with my question there. St. Patrick's been in the hopper there a couple of years straight as being very close. Now, the DRS is different because Elko and Newmarket both are already B teams. And now the schedule's still the same, but you've got these, other teams playing. Now St. Patrick's going to join them and move up to B. Thus, going back to the draft, there will be no draft out of St. Patrick going forward. You go to the state, if you make it, with your team. That's it. There's no draft. So how do some of those decisions come into the mix for you in particular, Mike?
Yeah, so I'll start off by saying that this is a lightning rod issue, and each side is very much open to debating it and thinking what is best for them. So I just want to preface it by saying that each team is different, and the BC thing has been a debate in Minnesota amateur baseball since the beginning of time, you could almost say. So this issue may be with us forever in the future as well. So I have no illusions that there is a perfect solve for all of this, or that every team fits into a same bucket of what they should or should not do. So kind of with saying that, the situation that St. Patrick is in, is there's many different variables that affect us maybe similarly or differently than others. So St. Patrick is between Prior Lake and New Prague. We're near Jordan. We're near Lakeville. There is no St. Patrick High School. And so historically, we've always grabbed some kids from here, kids from there, kids from here, kids from there, different school districts, different areas. And that's how we made our team up. Over the past handful of years, we've certainly added a lot of talent. We've had some success. And we're all in on this Class B thing. We are open to it. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to try and add some more talent, some more talented players. And like you said, for us, it's a little bit different because we're playing Newmarket and Elko in our section, who've been longtime DRS League foes, and so that kind of helps us out. Section 1 has some really great talented teams who have some really good following from their fan bases, and so we're looking forward to going to those ballparks and having those fans come to St. Patrick. We're looking forward to it. To your point about, budgeting. So imagine you're a family of 4 and you have to budget before you go to the grocery store, and you have to make some tough decisions. Do we buy the ribeye steak? Do we sign that Division I kid? Or do we just, this is maybe a bad analogy, but do we just go with the value brand and maybe just sign some players who played some high school ball or some Division III? Now, as you move to Class B, or as we move to Class B, the budget is somewhat off the table. And so if there's a player that wants to play for us, or there's a connection with some teammates on a college team, we can go out and get that player because, quote unquote, there is no budget. So that kind of releases our hands a little bit on signing some of this talent. But I've said this publicly and I've said this privately to people. We're going to experience it in the next year and a half, 2-3 years here for St. Patrick. The pluses, the minuses, and the in-betweens, we're going to experience it. And so in 3 years, I think I and St. Patrick will have a better understanding of how it worked for us. And again, I have to say it that way because every team is different. How they're made up, the location, their league, where they're playing, everyone's in a different boat. And one size does not fit all for trying to get into Class B, trying to avoid Class B, trying to stay in Class C, et cetera. So that's kind of my summary on that.
Would there ever be a team, and this is an extreme example of a GM saying, you know what, we're coming up close, we're close to points, I'm going to have a talk with our second baseman, and hopefully he won't join the team this year because he's going to push us over. Maybe he plays somewhere else, sit down and talk and say, we're going to cut you to stay under. No, that's the extreme, but do talks like that ever even happen?
Oh, yeah. I mean, for St. Patrick, we literally had a bunch of guys meet in my garage last winter. And
really?
We sat down and we said,
I've always wondered that. Yeah.
What's that? Yeah. What do we want to do? It was a matter of, do you want to cut your buddy, your teammate, and not just one of them, but maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of them? Oh, yeah. And pretty much to a man, the teammates were like, no, we like our teammates. We want to stay together. And we're not cutting people. We want to stay together.
Gotcha.
Again,
that's a good point.
That's how it worked for St. Patrick. I'm not saying that's how it should work for everybody else, but the discussion was certainly had, and the team wanted to stay together, and that's the path we're on.
That's awesome. That's I had to throw it out there because I always thought about those conversations as far as how do those take place. Now, I like to look at the teams moving up each year just because it's an interest to me, what teams are moving up. Is there a list of changes? Maybe Town Ball Tuesdays knows this. Who else is moving up from C to B this year? Or is there only St. Patrick? That's the team I happen to follow, for instance. But is there a whole 5 or 6 other teams that we're not aware of here? Or is there a published list of people moving in the offseason? I know that would take place in the state board meetings, but for the rest of us out here, is there any kind of a publication that makes that announcement, like a press release, for instance?
Meeting minutes.
Ah.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a press release, but we have the list of teams in the sections. I believe, St. Patrick's the only team that is new that is moving up from C to B. Gotcha. There's certainly some new B teams that are forming. So there's the new Shoreview team. Krista will be a new team. So there'll be teams that are also joining Class B that are just kind of
startups,
new, if you will. Yeah, startups.
Okay. Interesting.
But again,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
fun to follow.
if I
It's
could
fun
jump
to
in here
follow.
quick, guys.
Yeah.
If on the state website, we have a criteria page that gives the spreadsheets for all the different classes, which we currently still have it set up as 3 classes. But that it gives the criteria points for each team in those classes, and you can see exactly how many points any team in the state had at the end of the 2022 season.
Awesome. I'll check that out. They do have a pretty good site for some things, and they're limited on some other things, but that's a good one to check out. To know that I've been kind of following that myself the last couple of years to see who's close, who's on the edge, who's on the bubble there, and kind of fun to follow that. Now, speaking of, we got the A and B tournaments. We've got these guys, these teams that are just stacked. This is more of a question for town ball. Is in the past they had the draft to beef up some of these weaker teams to get other teams additional guys on their pitching. Do you see in the future, maybe the state guys will know this answer as well, will the draft ever be just thrown out because teams are already stacked, most of these teams? They don't need the additional pitching.
You're only drafting in C.
Only in C and only pitching
yeah.
and only 3. Okay, yep.
Yeah.
But is that something that's even going to go away because a lot of those teams are even stacked? Or is that always going to be there?
You'd have so much trouble getting through Labor Day weekend without
I see.
draftees. It's
Gotcha.
Well, it's like picking the Pro Bowl team for football. No one wants to be in it either. They have vacations and this and that, so even the good players aren't eligible.
And I think what they do is they opt in. They have to actually opt in the pool, in the draft pool per se, for that
Correct.
section to say, hey, I'm available, I can make it. But you're right. If they got vacations and things planned, they'll just opt out. Whereas the past, they would be on the team and they may show up or not for the first couple of weekends or not. It was a crapshoot. You never know if the guys would be there or not. Who knows? But
I guess I got a question for Kip on that. You not having a team or being on the board, so you're kind of the no horse in this race thing. Are you a fan of the draft or no?
I am for sure. I know the draft topic got brought up in 2021 when Sobieski didn't use a single pitcher of their own and ended up winning it. But there's always the extreme of two sides. I mean, you look at Watertown; they never used a draftee in their last 2 tournament runs. But like we said before, when you get to Labor Day, if you just have a couple arms, it's going to get ugly. And I personally don't want to see their left fielder come in and throw 50-mile-an-hour fastballs and have a 15-12 game. And I think it helps build the league too. I know the Crow is just stacked with pitchers that don't get to the playoff, and then all through the regular season you're trying to beat you, but then guys want to join a team and make a playoff run. And I think that's something where it kind of sets other leagues apart, where you get to dig into that pool of talent where maybe the guy from New Germany is not going to go play state tournament, but he'll get a couple innings. And I think that's good for a league. And you beat up on each other all year, and then when it comes to those 4 teams that come out of the league, they're all rooting for each other and they want to be a part of something cool like that, those runs.
I think for the fans too that are coming out to the state tournament, that are coming out maybe to cheer for, their team or their region or whatever. But you're getting out there and you see Kingery playing with Bird Island and the kind of run they went on with him, and you want to see the best talent that you can out of the state tournament from a fan perspective, and from so there's always going to be these situations where teams kind of get lucky in the draft and they ride a guy a little bit more than maybe would be ideal in the purest sense of what town ball is, but it makes things interesting. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, one other argument for that is to say, hey, let's do the draft, but those players are ineligible for the first 2 weekends. They are only going to come into play on Labor Day weekend and not to be used on those opening 2 rounds. Get them there the first 2 weekends with your roster, and then insert those guys to be used Labor Day only weekend. Has that ever been talked, maybe at the state level or not? That also is probably another lightning rod topic. Mike? Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Or maybe you don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's certainly been bantered about. Jason, you may know if there's a more specific discussion about it in meetings or whatnot, but yeah, it's certainly a debatable topic. Things will ebb and flow over time, I'm sure, as well. Some of the reasons why the draft, was instituted years ago may not necessarily be the case today in today's amateur baseball culture, or it may be, but could certainly debate it. I could certainly see that being an argument that's worthy of discussion. I personally, one of 9 members on the state board, I'm fine with the draft in Class C as it is. Am I totally stuck on my opinion? No, it's something we should always be thinking about.
Yeah, in the past, they used to, I remember too, they would have the catchers. You'd also be able to draft catchers because of the depth. You deplete your depth over the Labor Day weekend. Now it's just pitching only. But we've seen that in the past where they get the catcher, not necessarily to catch, but then get that bat in the lineup, and then the things really started going sideways. So that was not in the spirit of things either. But it's an interesting discussion.
So we got the state tournament coming up this year.
Yes.
100th annual Delano, Dassel, Litchfield. Like I said, Waconia is going to have the first round for A and B. With the schedule coming up, it's going to be kind of for you, Jared, the game's in Delano, kind of a second home game. Local fans down the road there. Are you kind of looking forward to maybe home field, but not really advantage for the games at Delano? Is that kind of exciting in a way?
It's cool that Delano and Dassel and Litch have it again. Right now, our focus is we got to make it there. Tough Crow River. So never want to say, hey, yeah, we're looking forward to playing in Delano, Dassel, Litch. That's the goal. But as alluded to before, the Crow is a tough league to get out of. So if we happen to make it, Delano would be a heck of a game. If we made it, if we got a game in Delano, I'm sure tailgating would be taking place.
Yeah.
The fans would make a little hike and, might just roll it right into the next day, maybe.
Yeah, the bus would be down there, the flag would be flying.
Right. That's the hope.
Yeah, and Kip, very close for you as well. You're going to be looking forward to this state tournament, right?
Yeah, Delano and Dassel are 2 of my offices already throughout the summer. And then Litchfield, I always feel that's the one park that kind of gets left out in the area that people forget about. But Optimus Park is really nice. They had the region tournament there last year for the Region 12 in the North Star League, and they had that thing looking good already. So I'm excited what they're going to do. And just 3 great parks, and then 3 groups or organizations that just have great people. You see these 3 parks in the state tournament bids every couple of years, and they deserve it. We were talking about park improvements last year. Delano had that outfield party deck that, if you haven't seen that yet, you got to check that out. Dassel has some of the best entertainment and food that's going to go along with it, and I'm really looking forward to that. I know they're doing a lot of things for the 100th event. The NBA's got some stuff coming up. I'll be kind of helping out with Delano and Dassel and Litchfield again on media and kind of coverage as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and one that I'm definitely looking forward to.
Should be a good time.
Yeah, they've got the logo all done. The website's all set to go. Now, Rhino, you go to the state tournament every year for many years, I think. I haven't.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And while we're talking about, Watertown and St. Patrick, let's be honest. It doesn't matter if it's in their backyard. You could put the state tournament in Winnipeg, and their fans are going to be out there tailgating. Those 2 squads travel. But, spent a lot of time at state tournament games the last several years. So it's always a highlight for my summer and Marty's, of course, and then all the other miscellaneous characters that ride along on our adventures. So Delano is definitely, with it being 100th and with the great work they've done in Delano, the outfield party deck is, we got to get a look at it last year during the Federal League playoffs, and man, it's going to be great. And once again, obviously Dassel, always a treat to go to Dassel. Litchfield, it's a great park. I think the 2016, I think was the last time it was in Litchfield. So, or the last time they hosted the state. So, obviously some some improvements and changes to the ballpark there since then. So that makes it even better. Optimist Park, home of the Blues. That's a pun I always kind of enjoy. But
Awesome. Exactly.
All right. Yeah, it should be a good time this year.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We've Andy and I have placed our ad for the upcoming. We want to be in that booklet. We're going to sign up to do some advertising there for that state tournament booklet to be in there. It's going to be good. We've submitted that information already, so we're looking forward to that. Of course, Labor Day weekend can be a blast. The weekends leading up to it, of course, nothing much better in Minnesota than a little state tournament action. So that's fun. Anything else you guys can think of here on the panel for discussion items that we may have missed for the show?
Well, I was just going to jump in there. You said advertising. I mean, there might be an opportunity for you to have a rolling, scrolling ad on the state NBA website too.
Awesome.
I think we know a couple people who can go.
Yes,
You might just do that.
But it's fun. We did our advertising for the first time here in the Region 7C tournament, and we also advertised in the World Series, the Over 35 baseball World Series in the state of Minnesota this year. So we're getting out there. We're doing more shows like this to raise the awareness of this great state we're in with the plethora of baseball. But that's all we've got here for the discussion topics. Unless there's anything more, we can jump off here and look forward to doing something similar to this next year as well.
Can I plug one thing quick?
Yes, go ahead.
Plug your website.
All right. So I gotta shout out Ryan Grams and the Broughton Bruins for what they're doing this year. They're gonna put together the Town Ball Knocking Out Cancer event, and it's gonna be 3 teams from the Crow and 3 teams from the North Star League. So Brownton's gonna play Dassel Cokato, Plato's gonna play Delano, and Watertown's gonna play Hutchinson. That'll be Saturday, June 10th, with all games at Barney Tansen Field in Broughton. So that's 6 really good teams, a really good ballpark, a really good atmosphere, and then all the proceeds are going to be donated to the Randy Shaver Cancer Research Fund. So worth it to come out there and put that one on your calendar. I'm sure I'll be out there all the day for all 3 games, and big crowd of people to see out there.
Yeah, we'll be in touch with Ryan Grams about that because Broughton's got a great team and
Great
a
ballpark.
location, great ballpark.
We've dropped the info on our social media also.
Yes, and Grams is going to do a good deal there. He's an amateur guy many years and also plays in the Federal League now himself. But that should be, looking at the matchups for that tournament, it's going to be really one heck of a weekend for that. It's great teams.
And there's also the Crow River and North Star League All-Star game happening over 4th of July weekend at Delano too. So if people want to experience Delano before the state tournament, that'll be a pretty cool atmosphere.
Yeah, that any of these amateur teams that do All-Star with the conferences or the leagues All-Star selection games like that, I don't know if all of them do it. Most maybe don't do that, but the ones that do, it's a fun atmosphere to see All-Star games at the town ball level.
And I did notice on the schedules for this year, Delano has their Christmas in July game. According to their schedule, they listed us as the Watertown Elves.
Yep.
Please God, tell me there's no special uniforms for that game.
There are uniforms that say Elves. Yep.
Oh, the Nike City Connect uniforms, maybe.
Can you get spikes with curly little toes on?
I mean, we'll put those on Cheetah.
I say Cheeto. So bring your cameras to that
He's
game.
too tall to be an elf.
Right.
That could be some fun stuff there.
Yeah, they put on a good show last year. We saw, photos and videos. They have a Santa Claus out there. They have, all the lights and trees, and they put on a little event. Town ball's supposed to be fun, so all the kids make their way out there, and little Christmas in July.
Should be a good time.
Yeah, should be a great time.
The last thing here before we jump off is, the Fox 9 Town Ball Tour is such a big hit. Do we know for 2023 the locations? Any guys on the state board here? Do we know those, or does that come out later?
News?
Is there any breaking news here for who's going to be the slate? That usually they do 8.
I would love to give that to you, but I don't think Fox 9 has released that yet.
I see. Yeah, we like that. We cover a lot of that in the show. I went to 7 of the sites last year. It's a fun thing, and that really promotes the communities, the businesses, and gets the families.
Yes, it does.
Everything involved.
It's a great thing.
Jackpot. Fox 9 is landed on a jackpot there that's going to be good for years to come.
All right.
Yeah, I know in Cologne it was a huge deal for us that we were able to host the first one last year, and I was expecting, I was hoping for maybe 300-400 people to show up, and we figured we had well over 1,000. So
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
Those are very, very successful events. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for the discussion panel, being on the panel here tonight, guys. Thanks for taking the time off to do this. This is good education for us and for the general public.
All right. Thanks,
Well,
guys.
thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
Thanks.
All right, bye.
Stopped recording.